everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my channel if you're new to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Today I have a walkthrough and a tutorial on how I made my organizer box using the really cute collection Bella Blvd's Documented. This is part of my August design team package and I really love it. So I do have a haul video for all of the products that I received in my design team package, so I will link that down below. Down below I will also have a cut list for all of this, but I am going to talk you through how to make this box today and all the cute little things inside we're going to talk about during this walkthrough. But it's really a fun little take on an explosion box, but it also, which you guys know is one of my favorite things. So it also is a desk organizer, and if you know, you've been following me, I love planning and organizing and notes and books and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of a combination of all those things. When I saw the paper collection, I really kept thinking back to school, desk organization, because it has cute little pencils and paper clips and all kinds of things in the paper collection. So I kind of went with this theme. Now, this is also the first of 3 different things that I am working on for this paper collection. They're going to be kind of smaller projects, but we're going to have multiple projects. So this is the first one. So again, this is my explosion box desk organizer. It measures 4.5 by 4.5, and it's just super cute. So I did layer on the top with the mirror card that I received in my design team package and the yellow cardstock that I got in my design team collection with the pattern paper to create the lid here. And then I used this beautiful ribbon that I received and I just wrapped it around those layers before I glued it down onto my lid. And that is my decoration. And I kept thinking, do I add anything? Do I not add anything? I just decided to leave it as is because I just thought it was super cute the way it is. So the sides here, I'm going to try, I showed you the paper that I used on the side, so it has all these cute little pencils and paper clips and all the things, typewriters, but it's really adorable. But that's how I decorated this, and I'll show you the lid when I take it off. You can hear I've got some things in there because it is a desk organizer, right? So I had to fill it. Okay, so when you take the lid off, okay, here's what it looks like from the top if I don't let the sides fall down. But then when you turn it, 2 of the sides fall down. So I did make these stuck together basically, so that it kind of creates this cute little desk organizer. You can kind of put it in the corner of your desk, you can put it over here, however you want to do it. But I think it's just absolutely adorable. I created little compartments in here, different sizes, different levels, just for fun. And so let's talk about what's inside. So first off, let's take these out. So I did make like a note holder section here that I wanted to be able to like stick little notes or little cards or whatever you wanted to put in here. In that, I used some papers from the collection. So I did use the tag, one of the tags from the collection. And I'm going to show you this in just a second, but I did make 2 little clipboards. In the haul video, I did talk about how these little pieces could be fussy cut out and make little clipboard notes, and that's what I did. So I took a piece of the coordinating cardstock that I received in the package, cut it at 3 by 4, and then I cut a piece of the white artisan cardstock at 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then I fussy cut this out of the paper collection. Let me show you that paper here. So I just used some of it and just fussy cut those pieces out to use those, which I thought was pretty fun. And then just glued them to the top and just made these cute little note cards, journaling cards, whatever you want to call them. I also did cut these out of the paper collection because they looked, you know, they were notes, so you could actually use them like notes. So I went ahead and used those, put those in here. Here's the little tag. Now this one here, what I ended up doing was I cut it all the same, except for this is copy paper that I just cut several sheets and then I stapled them, and of course you can't see it, but there's 2 staples under here. I used my little tiny attacher that I have, and then I put the little clipboard piece, I just glued that over the top, and then I glued it to the cardstock here. So it just made this cute little notepad. So if you wanted to, like, you know, write down, you know, like lists of phone numbers or little notes, whatever, you could have this, and this could be kind of like a little reference pad or something like that. So that's what I was kind of thinking with that. And then I made this little pen cup. Now this is only 4.5 inches tall, so you can't put like a, you know, standard pen in here. It's going to be too big. But if you had mini pens, you could totally do that. And that's what I did. So I had these little mini pens in my stash, and so I just decided to put those in there. They're different colors, and the colors match the paper collection, so I really like that. And then here is kind of a catch-all, and I used the paperclip paper in that. So I thought, well, this would be a great place to like put binder clips, paper clips, any other little bit and piece that you want to put in there. The sides, I wanted to utilize the sides, so I used a super sticky notepad that I had, and I used the stickers Work and Play, and then a little heart here. So you have a little post-it note center here. And then here, I designed this to be used with the Country Craft Creations calendars that they have on sale in the shop. I will put a link down below, and I don't have any of them yet. They are for 2026, and it's still 2025. So I did use this one that I had in my stash to show you that this is where that will go. And those pads, calendar pads from Country Craft Creations, are 3x3, and they have a chipboard back on them. So you can take that chipboard back and put it underneath the belly band here. And then you'll have a little calendar in your little desk organizer as well. So I'll put the link down below. I don't have them yet. I need to order them, but that is what I intended for this section here. I thought that would be really fun to do. Okay, so that is that. When I did decorate, let me take these out again real quick and I'll show you. I took some of the border paper. There's a page of border strips, and I used some of the flowers up here. I did use the heart border around the edge here, and then over here I decorated with this sticker that says "Wake Up and Be Awesome," and then one of the Bella Pops that I got in my haul video, I put there like it's clipped to the wall. So I don't know, I just thought that was really cute. I was pretty excited about this, and I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. I really love it. So then this will just fold up, and the lid keeps it all together. So you don't have to have it open all the time if you don't want to. Now the other thing that I did do was, here's the lid. So again, I said I would show you the lid again. So I used the mirror card, and I cut the mirror card an 1/8 inch smaller than the box top. Now the box top is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. You need that extra 1/4 of an inch when you have an explosion box, because, you know, it wants to kind of fall out. So you want enough room. You don't want it to be too tight. So the box is 4.5 by 4.5. This is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 with a 1 1/8 inch lip on here. And then I did cut the mirror cardstock an 1/8 of an inch smaller. So for example, on the top, it's 4 5/8 by 4 5/8. And then I went down a 1/4 of an inch for the yellow cardstock. So it is 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. And then the pattern paper here is 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. Okay, so when I layered my layers here and did the matting, that's how I did that. And then on the inside, I didn't want to waste the space, and I do like to put a photo mat here, so I did do a photo mat, and I'm trying to guess, yeah, it's 4 by 4 for the mirror card, 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 for the yellow cardstock, and then 3.5 by 3.5 for the white photo mat. And then I did use some of the Bella Pops, the tack, and the pencil that says awesome there. Okay, so that's how I decorated that. I did not put pattern paper on the bottom of the box. I didn't figure with everything in here people were going to look under the bottom, so I didn't put pattern paper down there. So that's what I did with the box. Now let me show you how to make the box and the lid and all those fun things. So you will need a couple of things. I got heavyweight chipboard in my design team package, and you will need 5 pieces of that are 4.5 by 4.5. Then to cover it, we're going to cover it just like we would if we were going to make an album. So all 5 pieces need a piece that is 6 by 6. And I did not, I'll show you something in just a second. The 6 by 6 is a little bit smaller than I usually use for a book cover. So it only has, instead of an inch, it only has 3/4 of an inch around the sides. So what I did when I laid it down to center it on my scoreboard, let me show you real quick. Let me grab my scoreboard, is, so the paper, let me grab a piece of paper just to show you. Hold on. Okay, so this piece is 6 by 6. And so what I did was, when, you know, you want to center your chipboard on here, I took my small spacers that I received from Country Craft Creations. They come in 3 sizes, and I took the 1/4 inch size and the 1/2 inch size, and I stacked them together like so to give me that 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. And then when I laid down my chipboard, I just laid it down like that, and then that gave me the perfect centering for this. And then, so I just wanted to show you that the usual spacers, the L spacers that I use for my covers are 1 inch, and that would have been too big for 6 by 6. And you know, the other reason I did that is because I was trying to save paper. I used 1 sheet of cardstock to wrap 4 of these chipboard pieces, so that's kind of why I did that. So I just wanted to kind of explain how I did that. And you can, you know, if you have these, it worked perfectly, because 1/2 inch and 1/4, that's 3/4 of an inch, so it made it perfect. So I did that. Once you're gonna wrap all 5 of these, okay? So again, you're gonna need 5 pieces of chipboard that are 4.5 by 4.5. Then you'll need 5 pieces of cardstock that are 6 by 6. And you're just gonna wrap them just like you do your book covers, all 5 of them, okay? Put 4 off to the side. Then we're going to need a piece that is 2 by 4 3/8, and that's what's going to connect those 2 sides that stand up. And then you're also going to need 1 piece that is 6.5 by 6.5, and this is what's going to attach all of these pieces together, okay? So 6.5 by 6.5. So we're taking 4 of these wrapped pieces, okay? They're all 4 wrapped. We're going to put them off to the side. We're going to take this 5th piece and the 6.5 by 6.5 inch piece. I'm going to put this piece, the 2 by 4 3/8, off to the side. We're going to have to adhere this to this, and this one will have 1 inch all the way around, okay? So we will use the other spacer for this. I will need a piece, another piece of my score tape, and I get this from Country Craft Creations. I love this. It's in sheets of 8.5 by 11, and it works really good. And what I did was I cut this just shy of 4.5 by 4.5, okay? So I'm just going to peel this off, and I'm going to put this down over top of that chipboard, okay? So we're just going to cover this. And I'm going to burnish this down pretty well. Make sure I get a good stick, okay? So this is going to end up being the bottom of our box, and this is going to be the inside bottom of our box. And we're going to cover that bottom with this. So I'm going to, again, grab my scoreboard, and I'm going to grab my regular L-shaped spacer, the 1 inch by 1 inch, okay, the one I use for book covers, and we're just going to put that down just like that, okay? So I'm going to peel that tape off, that backing off, okay? And then I'm just going to put this down, okay? And that will give me 1 inch all the way around, okay? And take this out of the way. So I have that. And then what I'm going to do is, just like as if you were going to wrap it, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of train the paper a little bit, all right? And then I'm going to go on the back side, and I'm going to burnish around just like you would do a cover, okay? I want to make sure I get the paper kind of trained. Like so. All right. And then what I'm going to do is, there's a couple ways you can do this. I thought that it was easiest to do it like all the way. I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to burnish it down. And then I'm going to just kind of push this down. And that's going to give me some cut lines, okay? We're going to make little tabs on these sides to add our pages to. So I'm just kind of folding it around, pushing it down, okay? And again, not using any glue or anything, just pushing it down, kind of giving me some guidelines here. Okay. Okay. So now I have these corners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these corners out, and I'm going to miter, and I'm going to go right to, I'm going to use my smaller scissors, and I'm going to go right to the corner there, okay? Right to the corner of my chipboard, and I'm just cutting that out, okay? That's all I'm doing. And I'm just doing a slight miter. But it kind of, when you fold it, it kind of gives you a guideline, I think, and it shows you where to cut. So that's what I did. I'm just cutting right to the corner, slight miter. Okay. Okay. So now you should have that. So again, this is the wrapped side that I did first. Okay, and then we put that piece on the bottom here. All right, let's use this one. We're gonna push that down again. Okay, these are kind of gonna be like the spines of our box now. Okay, I'm gonna push that down. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my scoreboard again because I want to try to make sure everything's nice and straight. And I'm going to put it sideways. I'm going to make sure you guys can see this. Okay, so I'm using the side. I put this on the side. I'm going to use this to kind of help keep it straight. I'm going to get my score tape here, and I'm going to put some score tape. Now, I am going to leave a little bit of give space, about 1/8 of an inch or so, on the wing here, and not get too super close to that edge. Okay, I'm gonna take that off, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue. And again, this is kind of like, you know, what we do when we do our spines, right, for our books. And then I'm going to set this down. Now what I'm going to do now is I don't want to put this like right up against the chipboard. Okay, I want to give a little bit of space here. And that didn't help me at all. Let's go like that. Let's fold that in a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go in and give about 1/8 of an inch of space between this piece and my bottom piece. I'm going to set that down. Okay, little bit of space. All right, like so. All right, I'm going to continue doing that all the way around. Okay, so again, I'm going to put my score tape down, make sure there's a little bit of room here, and then I'm pushing down with my fingernails as I'm sliding it across. That's kind of my MO here. A little bit of glue in the middle. All right. And I'm just going to fold that over so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm just using the ruler here to kind of guide where I'm putting this, okay? And giving about 1/8 of an inch. Like so. Make sure everything's lined up. You just want a little bit of space in between those two pieces, okay? Just turn it over. All right. So I'm going to repeat with the other two sides, and then I'll be right back and I'll show you what it looks like. So I have all 4 pieces on here, so they're going to fold up like so. You'll cover these with patterned paper later, but this is where you need to get this 2 by 4 3/8 inch piece of cardstock, and then you're just going to score that on the 2-inch side at 1. Okay, then we're going to fold, burnish, and then I'm going to miter this just a little bit. This is what's going to connect the 2 back sides, okay? So get those out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one side at a time. I'm going to just take this connector and put glue on this. Then we're going to glue it Turn this so I can see, right to the edge. Okay, right to the edge of one of these pieces. Okay. Okay, so I have that glued, so then you can see that what we're going to do is we're going to glue the other side right to that edge, okay? And we're not going to put them like super close together. Give a little bit of give space because you have kind of a little bit of give here. Give a little bit of give space here, so don't go quite, you know, give it a little bit of room. I don't know how else to say it, but you know, don't smush them like this. You want to kind of keep the nice edges straight, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just putting the glue here, and then I'm going to just fold it up and glue that down, okay? I'm holding it down with my fingers, and I'm just gonna go in and press that down here. And that gives you those two sides, okay? And that's all there is to making this box. Now, all you have to do now is do your pattern papers. Now, it is easier to put pattern papers on the outside before you form the sides of the box, but it's not the end of the world if you make it and then you can put pattern paper on later. It is actually very easy to do. It's a big space. You don't have to worry about that, okay? So there is your box. That is all there is to making that. Now, let's talk about the lid here real quick. For the lid, you will need a piece that is 9 1/4 by 9 1/4. And what you're going to do is put it in your scoreboard, and all around you're going to score on all four sides at 1 1/8 and 2 1/4. Okay, turn 1 1/8, 2 1/4, turn 1 1/8, 2 1/4, last one, same thing. Okay, all four sides. Then we'll get rid of this, and then we're going to do some cutting. When you are done scoring your lid, I'm going to go ahead and put these over here. We're going to need to cut some corners out, so let me grab my pencil here. On the corners, you will have created with your scores 4 squares. You're going to cut this one out, all 3 of the kind of outer squares out. The inner square is going to be a tab. And I think if you followed me with making these boxes, I've done the lids like this before. So what I'm going to do also is I'm going to do pinwheel kind of tabs with this inner square here. It'll make sense once I cut it and I'll show you, but that way you have a tab on each side of your lid, and it kind of does add a little bit of stability. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to just pick a side here, and we're going to cut the score out. So I'm going to go right to the left of that score, and I'm going to cut through both of those areas, okay? So I'm just going to cut straight up, and I'm cutting that score out. So I'm going right to the, I'm going just to the left of that score, okay, to cut that score out. And then what I like to do is, to save myself a little bit of time, is I go ahead and miter all the way up through those 2, okay, and just get that done in one fell swoop, okay? And then I'm going to do it again. So I'm just going to miter all this. I'm going to miter that tab, cut to that score line, okay, like so. Then I'm going to turn it, and then I'll cut just to the right of that score, because I want to cut that score straight up. And that piece needs to pop out. Didn't quite get it. There we go. And then, so I cut straight up there, and then I'm going to cut this piece off here. Okay? And that's what you're going to end up with. Okay? So that's side number 1. Then what you're going to do is just turn it and repeat the process. Okay? So we're going to cut just to the left of that score, straight up through both of those things. we're gonna miter. We're gonna miter. Okay. Then we're gonna turn it. We're gonna cut straight, cutting that score out. So we're gonna go to the right of that score, cut it completely out. And then we're going to cut that off, okay? So now you can see the pinwheel thing. So this one's pointing down, this one's pointing down, but when you look at them, they're all gonna go different directions, okay? So they're all gonna go into a different direction, all right? So I'm gonna repeat this, and then when we get done with that, we'll go on to the next step. All right, so now you have your box lid, okay? And you have all your pieces coming out. Then what you're gonna do is fold and burnish. And so what I also like to do is, let me explain something. Okay, so the tabs are going in different directions so that when we glue them up, each tab goes to a side. So it kind of gives a little bit of extra stability to all four sides. The other thing I'm doing is that I'm making this so that you can cover this with pattern paper before you even make the box lid. And it's a lot easier to do if it's flat, right? So the other thing is that when I have the sides like this, there's 2 layers to the sides, and it does add another layer of strength and covers these tabs. So that'll make perfect sense here in just a minute. But what I'm gonna do, just to kind of show you, is let's just put an X here, just so you can see what I'm talking about when we get to covering those up. So what we're gonna do first is we need to flip this over. This is the inside. So if you're gonna cover with pattern paper now, what you need to do is cover the top here. Okay, so this is the top of your box, and then these are your sides. The inside rectangles are going to be the outside of your lid, okay? So if you look at the outside of your lid right here, that's what these inside kind of rectangles are gonna be by your tabs. Those are gonna be the outside of your lid. When you fold this piece in, that becomes the inside of your lid. So when you're covering this with pattern paper, think about which papers you want to use. Now I use the same paper, but I cut them differently just because I didn't mat the inside of the lid. So just keep that in mind. So this is the outside top of your box. These right here will be the outside lid sides, okay? And then these outer pieces are gonna be the inside of the lid, okay? Then you can, so once you cover that with pattern paper you want, if you want to just make the box and then cover it later, you can do that too. It's not that hard to do. But the inside, the only piece you have to cover is this inside piece here, okay? So this inside piece right here, okay? These will be covered on the other side. I hope that makes sense, okay? So let's turn. And then what I also like to do is I fold the inside piece in, and then I fold it over itself again, and then go ahead and burnish that down. That way, everything kind of, if the paper needs to nudge a little bit to fit, it actually works really well to do it this way. That way, on this side, you don't have to take off like a 1/16 of an inch, because sometimes with the scoring, that can happen. So if you just fold this piece over nice and gentle, and then fold it over again, and then go ahead and burnish, that'll make everything fit perfect, okay? So that's another little hint and tip. Now don't forget when you're doing all of this folding and burnishing to fold in your tabs as well, okay? So fold in your tab, and then we're gonna fold this outer piece in, nice and gentle, fold it over on itself, and then fold it down, okay? And it works out just fine, okay? All right, so I'm folding in my little tab, fold in the side, fold that over. I know it looks weird, but it works. It really does work. Trust me on this one. I do it all the time. All right, so all of my tabs are folded. Okay, so once you have, if you're gonna put pattern paper on, you've got that done, you've got everything cut, you've got everything burnished, then we just have to glue things together. Now this tab, and let me actually put the X's, I should have put it on the other side so I could show you. So these are the tabs, all right? So we're going to take and glue our tab, okay? And it's gonna glue, we're just gonna fold that up, we're gonna match the sides, okay? Then I'm gonna just put this down and I'm gonna take my bone folder and I'm gonna burnish that down really well. Now the other advantage to making the pinwheel cuts is that now I don't have to do all 4 sides with the tabs and then fold these in. I don't have to do that. I can go ahead and just fold this down now because this tab, or this side here, is gonna fold over that tab. Does that make sense? So what I can do is, after I get this one stuck down, is grab my glue, put it on this lid, and then I can go ahead and fold that over, and you see how it's going to cover that tab, okay? So it's gonna reinforce the side, giving it a little extra strength, okay? And also cover up all those tabs, okay? So let's do that again. So we're gonna fold this tab in. I'm hoping you can see this. I know it's a little bit awkward with the camera. I'm gonna put the glue down, okay? I'm gonna fold that side up and I'm gonna match that side. Match those corners really nice. And then I'm gonna burnish that down, okay? So you can see the X is still there, right? But now what I can do is fold this side over and it covers that up, okay? So you can do this like one side at a time, which is another advantage of doing it this way. Which honestly, to be quite honest, I didn't discover till just like the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I don't have to do this like all 4 tabs and then go around and do all 4 sides. I can kind of do it in one fell swoop here and get it done, okay? All right, so I'm gonna just finish this up. I'm gonna glue this down. Has lots of advantages to doing it this way. So basically when you're making a lid, you just add another, whatever the side of your lid measures, just add another round of that and then cut those 3 corners out, and then you can do your lids like this, which is really nice. Now I do have a video, I'll see if I can link that on kind of the new way of doing, I discovered, or you know, how to do it with an explosion board, but it kind of gives you the same kind of process. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so this last one here, same thing. Works out pretty good. Okay, so again, I can go back and cover this with pattern paper later, but one of the advantages again is to be able to cover it with it flat, which usually makes it a lot easier, okay? For some people it does. So, but this one isn't too hard to do later. Okay, so there's my lid, all done. Just go and make sure everything is nice and burnished down. And voila, okay? So then when you grab your box, okay, it folds up and you do that, okay? So there's the box and the lid. So let's talk about all of the cute little holders that we're going to make for this. So this is the, let's go ahead, we'll talk about the sizes and we'll score and then we'll make them together, okay? So the first thing is the note holder. So this is the one on the side that I had all of the little clipboard notes and the cards, the 3x4 journal cards and all that stuff. So you're gonna need a piece that is 5.5 by 5 3/4. So with the 5.5 at the top, we're going to score at 3/4 and at 4 3/4, okay? Then we're gonna turn it and we're gonna put the 5 3/4 at the top. We're gonna score at 1/2, 2 1/2, 3 1/4, 5 1/4, okay? So that is the note holder piece. The pen holder is 7.5 by 5. We're going to put the 7.5 at the top. We're going to score at 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 6. Okay, 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 6. Then we're going to turn it on the 5. We're going to score at 1/2 and 3.5. Okay, so that's the pen holder. And then we're going to have the tray that kind of holds the pen holder and has a little space for paper clips or whatever else you want to put in there. So this piece is 8 by 7.25 with the, you can start on either whatever you want to do because we're going to score all 4 sides the same way. So we're just going to put it in and we're going to score at 1 and at 2. And we're going to turn it, score at 1 and 2, turn it, score at 1 and 2, turn it again, all 4 sides, 1 and 2. Okay, so that is going to be your little tray. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's go back and start with the note holder. Now this one, if you notice, is a kind of a separate piece that is glued to the side here, and then this tray butts up against it. The pen holder goes inside this tray in the corner. Okay, so that's how I did that. So that's kind of how it's going to lay out. The note holder, basically what we're going to do is we're going to make some little tabs here. So first off, we're going to start here, and I'm going to make a little miter here, and then I'm going to cut this piece out, but I'm going to miter this side. Okay, so mitering both pieces here like so. These are going to be tabs, so what I need to do is cut straight up and then miter that little piece. It's going to help hold the sides up, and I'm cut straight up because I want that side. These pieces here end up being the side of my little note holder. Okay, and it's gonna give strength having both of them there. Okay, so we got that one tabbed. Let's tab this one, so straight, and then miter, and then straight, and I'm cutting out the score line, so I'm going just to the side of it. Okay, and then cut that out. So we have these cut out and these tabbed, and then we're going to tab these here. I'm going to make miter here. Okay, we'll cut here and here. Okay, so we're going to just miter all of those and make them into tabs. These little 1/2-inch pieces here are going to help reinforce the top of the box and give it a nice rounded edge. Okay, so that's what that's going to do. All right, so fold and burnish. Okay, and just be careful with all your little tabs here when you do that. Okay, so I'm just kind of folding and burnishing all of those. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you want to put pattern paper on before we glue everything together, the only sides you will need to put pattern paper on are what is going to be the front. So let's just do right here. We'll draw a little heart, and then we're going to need a side that's going to show. So only one of these sides. Okay, so this is the outside. On the inside, I did put pattern paper on the inside pieces. So you will, if you want to do that, we will put it here and we will put it here. So I did pattern paper here and here, and then also you may want to do pattern paper on the inside on the sides. I did do that. I did those kind of after the fact because then it covered up the tabs. So But right now what you can do is do that. Now, before you put pattern paper on the inside though, fold these over and glue this down. And then what that does is it gives a nice little rounded edge to the top. And it also does give you a little bit more strength. Okay. And then you can put pattern paper over top of that. All right. Okay. So if you want to do it before you build the box, again, on the outside, you just need the front. Let me show you right here. And then this side here on the outside. Okay. And if you want to put pattern paper on the inside, which I did do, you'll do the front and the back after you put the tabs down. And then I waited and I put the insides on after I built the box because then it covered up these little tabs, okay? All right, we're gonna have a little bit of a do-over here. So I've already folded those down. Once you fold those down, then you can cover the inside of the box, okay? With pattern paper if you want it. These tabs here need to be where the front of your box is going to show, because these are going to actually cover the edges here and give that nice rounded edge as well. Okay, so when you look at your box, when you get all these pieces cut out with the little tabs, that's the top, this is the front. So you only need to cover the front and this side. Okay, so again, the front and this side. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to take your little tabs here and we're going to glue these down and put glue here. You can see it's a do-over. And I'm going to fold this up. And what I'm doing is I'm folding it and I'm gluing it to the back right here. Because what I'm trying to do is this is the front. I want that folded side. I want this folded over the back. Okay. So I'm just going to glue that down. Then what I'm going to do is put glue here. And this is why I didn't cover the insides of this with pattern paper until I got it made, because it's going to cover all of these tabs. It's going to cover the tab from the bottom. And then this little tab here is going to fold over and then just strengthen that side. Okay. Like so. Okay. So again, we've got our little tab here. I'm going to put glue here and I'm just going to, this is the back side. Okay, so here's the front, here's the side that's going to show. Art glitter glue sets really fast, so this works really well. Then I'm going to glue this side. Okay. Okay. That's what we got so far. And then I'm going to put glue on this tab and then that'll fold over and give that nice rounded edge all the way around. Okay. So there's our note holder. And then we've got our pen holder. So now our pen holder, we've already scored everything. And here's what we're going to do with this one. We're going to cut our scores out up the bottom where those squares are. This will be 1.5 by 1.5. So we're just going to cut just a wee little bit out. If I can get my fingers to work. Okay. I can't get my fingers to work. There we go. Okay, like so. Then this one, I'm going to cut this square completely out, okay? So this on the right side, I'm going to cut that square out. I'm going to cut it straight, and I'm cutting the score lines out, okay? Then on the top here, we're going to cut this one completely out. right over that square piece that we cut out, that same side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just miter these. So these 1/2 inch tabs, we're going to do just like we did with the note holder. We're going to just kind of reinforce the sides. Okay. We're just going to do little miters here. Now again, because we don't have to cover all of the sides because of the way that it's kind of glued in. So I'll show you that in just a second. Okay. All right, so when you get this done, that's what you're going to have. So you're going to have tabs on all the tops, and then you're going to have the 1.5 inch pieces on the bottom. And we're going to just, again, fold and burnish. Okay, make sure everything's nice and straight. There we go. Like so. And then we're just going to fold, get it turned so I can do it. That would be nice, wouldn't it? All right. Oops. There we go. Fumble fingers today. All right. So, last one here. All right. Okay. So, this is the pencil cut. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue this to here, and that's going to create the actual cup. Okay. These will fold down, and they're going to cover the edges, right? And then this one here will cover that top edge, so you have a nice rounded edge here. And then these will fold in and become the bottom of the box. Now, to cover this with patterned paper, this is the outside, and you're only going to need to cover 2 sides. So if you imagine that this piece ends up being the back of your box, you're only going to need to cover here and here on the outside. Okay, because these 2 sides will be up against the kind of walls of the box, and you won't need to cover those. Okay, so if I open this back up, these are the only 2 you're going to need to cover. Okay, now on the inside, I did cover with patterned paper, and I did fold all of these guys down, but remember that this one here is going to cover that back piece. So you don't want to cover this one with pattern paper yet, because you will have to wait until you fold this over. So you can cover with this and this and this. Okay, you can cover all 3 of those. This is the only side that you'll have to wait till you're done. And I did not cover the bottom of this box because it already had 4 layers of cardstock, and I just did not put pattern paper down. All right, so what you're going to do is we're going to fold this over. Okay, and that's how that's going to glue down. Okay, so we're going to glue this single kind of piece to the inside here. Okay. And that becomes the box. Oh, and I should have done that. Let's just fold these over. I'm just going to put some glue here and fold these down. I'm doing it kind of quick. Sorry about that. So if you cover the inside again, you would fold those down first, and then cover the pieces that you can with patterned paper. Okay, wait till you fix the box and then do the other one, because that covers the join. I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I am more than happy to help. Okay, so you got that. There we go. Okay, and then when you get this, then you're just going to fold these down and then just create the box and then just glue it down. Okay, that's all you're going to do with that. And because we didn't miter these, they should kind of square each other up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put glue on one, and I'm going to kind of fold this over, make sure everything kind of matches, lines up, put more glue, lay the next one down, more glue, lay the next one down. That just kind of gives you a nice firm bottom to this box, okay? And that's all you're going to do. Now, I do have a little tool. Let me find it. That I use. What did I do with it? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Found it. Buried in all my tools. This is just a couple dowels that I wrapped with cloth tape, and I put a furniture pad on it. I got this idea a long time ago from Tamara, who owns Country Craft Creations. And you can go in and you can just burnish down, and it's really nice because this foam pad, you know, doesn't hurt your cardstock or anything, and it's a nice flat surface. So that's what I did with that. Okay, so there's your pencil cup. Last one is the tray that we need to make. And again, that tray is 8 by 7 1/4. All right. And this one is made just like the lid. I did it exactly the same as I did the lid. So it has a double side. And I did that because I think it's going to be more kind of bumped or used or whatever. So that's why I decided to do it that way. So it's, again, it's exactly like the lid. So you're just going to go around after we've done all the scoring. You've got the 4 corners. We're just going to cut all the way up straight. We're going to miter. Then we're going to turn. Oh, I didn't do that straight at all. Okay, cut the scores out and cut that off, okay? Do that all the way around just like we did the lid. Okay, so we got it done. We're going to do all of the folding and burnishing and covering of pattern papers like you did for the lid. The only difference is for this, you only need to cover on the outside one short side of this box and one longer side of this box on the outside, okay? And then I covered all of the insides because all of that is going to show, okay? So that's all you need to do for that. And again, you know what? If you don't do it as you're making the tray or the lid or the boxes or whatever, you can cover them later. It's actually very easy to do. And sometimes, and you know, I don't even know which papers I'm going to use. And so sometimes I'll build all these boxes and then, whoops, I didn't do that the way I was going to do it. I build the boxes and then I figure out which pattern papers I want. So, you know, it's totally like however you design, how you want to do it. Okay. But I did kind of incorporate some extra strength in the sides using the little tabs here to kind of reinforce the tops and give it a nice rounded look. I wanted to do that. So, okay, so again, we're going to just glue this box up. So let's just put glue here. I'm going to form that side. Why is that not feeling like I burnished it? I know I did. Match your sides. And hold it down for a quick second. Okay. And then put glue on that. Little awkward, but you know, you can do it. I'm being fumble fingers today too, and I'm trying to go fast, but all right, and then fold that down. Covers the tab. One fell swoop, and you're done. Okay. Now I have a couple ideas on decorating this one. I haven't quite decided which papers I was going to use for this, but if I do figure it out, I will, of course, come on camera and I'll show you. But I haven't quite figured that out yet. And I know I'm doing this tutorial a little bit differently than I usually do it. If you have any questions, you know, let me know. I just think this is kind of an easy project. Doesn't take a whole lot. Didn't take a whole lot of pattern paper. Didn't take a whole lot of cardstock. It's fairly quick to put together. So, okay. So I'm just making sure that everything is burnished down. The glue is spread. Corners are nice. Okay. Last one. And go in there. Good thing with the glue tips here, I can kind of reach in there. And again, I'm just going to match my sides. Pressing it down a little bit. Using my bone folder to push that tab down. And I've found that if you, you know, cut the scores out and stuff, you don't really get a whole lot of problems with everything fitting. It just fits perfectly when you fold these in. All right, so there's your tray. So again, you would cover all of the inside, but you only need to cover, whoops, one short side here and one long side, okay? And then what you're gonna do is we're gonna, all of these would be, of course, covered with pattern paper and everything. You're just gonna glue that together like that. This one will go in the corner, okay? And you'll glue all of those down. And then when it comes time to put it in the box, the one thing you do need to remember is you do need to put pattern paper down, if you wish, first. And then this whole thing just kind of glues in here like that, okay? So what I did was I glued this one in first. I glued the entire back, this side, and the bottom, and that glued like so, okay? This one here, put glue on the bottom, and then this side and this side, and then I pressed it in there, kind of held it in, and glued that down, so it kind of glued to this one. Hope you can see that. And then it glued to this side, okay? And then this one here, put glue on the bottom, and then a little bit on the two sides here, and then I just pressed it in here, and that's all I did, okay? That's what I wanted to show you. So again, cover with pattern paper, obviously, first, before you glue all that stuff down, but then you'll end up with something that looks like this. And I think it looks really cute, and it's really pretty. I like the different levels. It kind of gives it a little bit of extra flair, and it looks really good. So don't worry about gluing the back of the pencil cup like up at the top. You just want it glued to the inside of the tray, okay? Yeah, and that's it. So again, the sides are 4.5 by 4.5. So the pattern paper I cut was 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. So you need the 5 pieces. This piece here, and I don't know if I have, the other piece or not. Let me see if I do. Yeah, it was the back of this piece here, and I had cut out like the corner here, so that's where I got the border underneath. So it did cover up, the boxes did cover up this piece, but I got the scallop border here, which I thought was really pretty. So I just cut the 4 3/8 by 4 3/8 out of the corner of this particular piece of paper. It was the back of that. So I just wanted to show you that as well. All right. So that's my project. I hope that all made sense, and that you liked it. I think it turned out really cute, and I think it's going to look really adorable on a desk. I think this is a fast project to put together. Would be a great teacher gift, I think. I think it would look really cute in an office. I just think it's an adorable project. And then you can, you know, you don't have to put the pencil cup there. You can just do the two pieces here. You can do whatever you want. It kind of can configure to however you would like to do it. So anyway, that's my project. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll be back with project number 2 with this paper collection here real soon. All right. Take care, stay crafty, and have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.